Hey everyone, welcome back to another drum lesson from this weird sort of online format that we've started to use while we're in lockdown. I hope you're all keeping safe and well, and that you're looking after your families, and that you're doing some chores when they're asked of you, or even if they're not asked of you, just offering to help around the house. That's really cool. The last video we looked at some beats that we can use when we play drums. Some common rock beats. Some basic rock beats, I think that sheet was called. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the opposite side of drumming, which is some fills. So these are things that are less focused on playing that sort of thing, and more focused on moving around the drum kit a little bit further and kind of using the other drums. It'll make more sense once we get into it. Elbow cough. Smart. So the sheet that we're looking at is called Filler Up. I would have sent a link out to you in the emails. It looks like this. You can see it probably in the screen that's down here. You might also notice that I've managed to find a music stand, so that's cool, so I don't have to look over here all the time when I'm playing. It's much easier to look this way, because that's where the microphone is as well. Just everything's working now, which is cool. So the first fill that we've got, we use two different drums. I'm going to put the key for which drums are on which lines. I'll probably have that down here somewhere, or down here. I don't really know. My editing skills are not the greatest, so it could be up here, it could be down here. Who knows? But then you'll be able to see which drums are on which lines. Okay, every line of the music is a different drum. Some of you already know this, some of you don't know this, because we haven't done any of the other drums. We've only done the hi-hat, snare, and bass drum, but most of you have probably done some toms at some stage. So right up the top, we've got tom 1, which is this guy. And underneath the snare drum, so we've got the snare drum on the second line, or the second gap from the top, and underneath that, we've got the floor tom, which is that. Now, some drum music will have another tom, a tom 2, but this sheet doesn't have any, and my drum kit doesn't have one. So that's not that important right now. But what you will need to know is that if you see a tom 2, it will look like it's just underneath tom 1. It's on the line that's in between the snare and tom 1. The other thing we need to know going forward from this sheet is that there are two different speeds of notes. Now, the notes that have two lines connecting them, like on fill 1, you've got the first two notes that have two lines connecting them at the top there. They go faster. They go twice as fast as the ones that have one line connecting them. Now, they're called 16th notes. They have the two lines. And 8th notes. They have the one line. Okay, so this first fill, we've got two snares and then one tom 1, and then we do the exact same thing again. So it sounds like, hopefully that makes sense. You can see the two snares there, and then a tom 1, and then two snares and tom 1 again. What we're going to do, because each one of these fills actually only lasts for 2 counts. Did I shut the mic there? No. So it lasts for 2 counts, not 4 counts like we were doing with the beats in the last video. Last video we were counting like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we've only got enough space to fill up 1 and 2 and. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to put these fills on the 3 and 4 and. Hand symbol. So we're going to play something really simple for the 1 and 2, so that we can focus on getting through to the 3 and 4, which is where the fill is. This is what it sounds like. So this is what fill 1 is going to sound like with that beat in front of it. So that beat on the 1 and 2 end. A lot of numbers I'm throwing at you. You're just stuck at home for 2 weeks, and I'm just throwing maths numbers at you. Unfair. All right, so this is what it sounds like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Yeah? So after we get to 4 and, we go back to 1, obviously. So if we're going to play this twice in a row, which is what we're going to do for each one, it's going to sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and So that's fill 1. Now 2 is the same rhythm, which means it's got 2 16th notes with the 2 lines joining them at the top, followed by 1 8th note, and then you repeat that little those 3 notes. So we go 16th, this is hard to say, 16th, 16th, 8, 16th, 16th, 8. Try saying that 10 times fast. So 16th, 16th, 8, 16th, 16th, 8. Da, 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 da. But now we change up what drums we use. So we, instead of going snare, snare, tom, snare, snare, tom, we've got snare, tom 1, floor tom. So here's what that sounds like. Play it a little bit faster, right, just to see what it sounds like. Cool. Fill number 3. I keep going to say beat number 3, but we're actually doing fill, so it's fill number 3. Now we change up the rhythm completely. Well, not completely, only half of it's changed. We've got 4 16th notes followed by another 2 16th notes. So 6 16th notes in a row and then 1 8th note at the end. So it's going to sound like this. This is the rhythm. That last one's a little bit longer. So we go. The only drum that we don't use... Well, that doesn't make sense. The only drum that we use that isn't a snare drum is tom 1, and it goes right at the end. It's the 8th note right at the end. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, da, da, dum. 3 and 4 and is the counting. So here's what it sounds like with the beat as well. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. One of them's a little bit too loud. Hopefully there's fewer audio issues. I'm not sure what happened in the last one. It was a little bit quiet. Everything was really quiet when I was going from watching other YouTube videos to then watching my own one. So I watch myself. You know, kind of vain, I know, but that's cool. It was a little bit quiet, so hopefully this one I'll make a little bit louder so you can hear it a little bit clearer. But you should be wearing headphones or playing it through a stereo anyway, so that you can hear the full range of the drums from all the highs to the lows, especially the floor tom. Okay, now we're on to beat. I told you I'd say it. We're on to fill 4, which has got the same rhythm as fill number 3. So we've got 6 16th notes followed by an 8th note, and we change the last 2 away from the snare. So now we're going. Okay, here's what it sounds like. Cool. So 3 and 4 have the same rhythms, just like 1 and 2 had the same rhythms. Now we're changing up the rhythm again. We're on to 5. Now we've just got 8 16th notes in a row. That's what that sounds like. 1 E and a 2 E and a, but 3 E and a 4 E and a. So we start with a snare again. We've got 5 snares in a row, and then we've got 1 tom 1 and then 2 floor toms. Here's what that sounds like. Sorry, I'm just going to move this slightly. There, I don't want to be hitting the mics because you get that noise like I just did. So here's what it sounds like with the beat. Can you kind of see how I'm keeping my hands steady because I know what the rhythm is. I know where the notes need to be, how far apart they all need to be, but I'm just changing where I play my hands. So instead of just going, I'm still doing that, but I'm just moving my hands to where they need to be. So my arms are still moving the same speed. My hands and my wrists are still moving the same speed. I'm just moving where they hit. I'm not thinking about, I need to do 5, and then I need to do 1, and then I need to do 2. I'm not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 1, 2. I'm going 8 in a row, but just moving where certain ones are. Okay, on to number 6. We've got 2 snares, 4 tom 1s, 2 floor toms. All 8 in a row, same speed. like that. So this is what that sounds like. Ignore the crash. So here's what it sounds like with a beat. All right, number 7. Now we start getting a little bit tricky. Okay, the first 6 were pretty straightforward in terms of what rhythms go where, but 6 through to 11 start getting a little bit different because we start adding a few new concepts in. So now we've got, on number 7, we've got 16th, 8, 16th, 8, and then 2 16ths. So we've got a quick, then a normal, quick, normal, 2 quick. So da 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 is what that sounds like. That's the rhythm. Okay, now we've got to figure out which drums it's on. Looks like it goes from the snare to tom 1 to floor tom. Okay, that's the general pattern of all these fills, is that they move this way around the drum kit. That's clockwise. I know my stuff. I've seen a clock before. So I'm just doing these at the end of one bar of music. So, but you can put them in after 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or a million. Maybe don't do a million. It might take too long to get there. But you can put these fills wherever you like when you're playing beats. So here's what it sounds like. I'll do number 7 again, but I'll do it at the end of 2 bars. Okay. So we're going to count to 4. Then we're going to count to 2 again, because that's going to be the start of the second bar. And then on the 3 and 4 of the second bar, we're going to put the fill in. Hopefully that makes sense. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So they don't always have to be at the end of just one bar. You can kind of put them wherever you want. Or you can just do them by themselves until you figure out how they actually work, and then you can put them in with beats. Number 8, we start getting a little bit tricky now. So number 8, we have something that we discussed in the last video. Hopefully most of you watched that, or some of you watched that, or one of you watched that. I know at least one of you watched it. It's a rest. So this fill actually starts with the rest. And if you remember what a rest is, it's we don't play. Okay? It's not like in the last sheet where there's a hi-hat as well as the rest. It's just a rest by itself. So that means that it's quiet. There's nothing. We don't play anything during that little space. Silenzio, Italian for silence. So learning something new every day. I get really easily sidetracked when it's just me by myself recording. So I don't know what it's like for you guys when I'm in the room teaching, but it's pretty easy for me to get sidetracked. So we've got a rest at the start of number 8, which lasts for the same amount of time as an 8th note. That's what that rest looks like. A rest that would be a 16th note would have 2 lines coming off where that little dot on the end of it is. Okay, but all these rests on this sheet are 8th note rests, which means we wait for the 3, and then on the and we play. So we go 1 and 2 and rest. Okay, because after the rest we've got 2 16th notes, 8th note, then 2 16th notes, all on the snare. So this is what it sounds like. 1 and 2 and rest. Now you don't actually have to say rest. That's just me saying that's where the rest goes. So here's what it sounds like if you were just playing it. Yeah, so 9, 10, and 11 all start with that rest as well, so you should probably get used to it. It's not that hard to remember. All you have to do is think in your head 3 or rest. Like I said before, rest. You go 1 and 2 and rest, then you start the fill. Number 9, I reckon it's probably easier than number 8 because it's just 6 16th notes in a row. You've got a little group of 2 that go on the and of 3. And then you've got 4 16ths that cover the whole 4 count, 4 and. So we've got 1 and 2 and rest. All in a row, all 6 in a row like that. All right, so this is what it sounds like with a beat. So in my head there, when I was playing, I counted the 3, made sure that there was nothing playing on that 3, and then when it got to and, start doing the snares. It's a good method to use. Number 10. Number 10, same rhythm as number 9. So we've got 6 16th notes in a row, but we're changing up where we are playing those notes. So we've got 3 on the snare, 1 on tom 1, and 2 down on floor tom. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3. Man, I think my snare's too high. I keep hitting the side of it. So 1 and 2 and rest. 1 and 2 and rest. Cool. Number 11, the last one on the sheet. The sheet goes up to 11. Just like any good amplifier, we always got to 11. We've got the same rhythm again, but we're changing up the drums slightly from number 10. So instead of just doing, instead of having 3 snares, we've got 2 snares at the start. Then we go to 1 tom 1, and then, then we go to 2 tom 1s, and then 2 floor toms. So we got 2 on each. The easiest way to say that. I should have just said that from the start. 2 on each. So we go 1, 1 and 2 and rest. Okay. 1 and 2 and rest. 1 and 2 and. All right. So that's the end of the sheet. That's the end of filler up. There is a second filler up sheet that it's the same ideas. So it's still just half a bar. So it's 2 counts of fills, but they are a little bit harder. And that will be probably the next video, because what I want to do is we had a good introduction to beats in the last video, and we want to do some fills. So we want to start using the rest of the drums in these videos. And then after that, we're going to try and put some of them together. Okay, I've got some more resources and sheets that include beats and fills. What I'm going to try and do now is, just like the last video, play the whole sheet in one go. I will probably stuff this one up because I haven't played it in quite a while. But let's give it a go. I also don't know how fast I'm going to play this, but we'll see what happens, eh? There you go. Number 8. Bonus bass drum at the end for some reason. So I got through to number 7 before a stumble, and I've got no idea why I went to the toms on that one. There weren't even any toms around it. Maybe I was still thinking about number 7 because that's the one with the trickiest timing. So that is filler up. Like I said before, I hope you're all well, keeping safe, looking after those people around you. Look out for the next video in a couple of days probably, because there's not much else I really have to do around the house apart from the dishes and a bit of Xbox. I say a bit of Xbox, quite a lot of Xbox. I've been playing a lot of Xbox. So yeah, if you've got questions and stuff, feel free to send them along. You can either email me, or your parents have got the emails or the email addresses, or you can just comment on the videos. They're not public; they're only going out to you guys. So if you do have questions, don't feel like your question's going out to the whole world, or if you feel like it's a silly question. But there are no silly questions because I probably left something out that I was supposed to explain. So if you do have questions or comments or things that you want to do, like if there are songs or something that you want to learn, just let me know. I'm not saying that we can do them straight away, but Maybe we can do parts of them or something like that. Remember, these lessons are for you guys so that you've got something to do during the lockdown. So it'd be awesome if you practice lots on whatever you can. Pots and pans is great for you guys, maybe not so much for the household, but if you've got a drum kit, get practicing. That's all I can say. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.